All right, so today we're going to deep dive into something that sounds pretty futuristic. The English compiler.
Oh, yeah. This one's exciting.
You sent me some info on this project, and it seems like
It's really interesting.
they're trying to build software
Yeah.
just by describing what we want in plain English.
Yeah, essentially, it's trying to bridge that gap, between human language and the complex world of code. Like taking those instructions we write out and just translating it directly.
So it's like having a translator, but a super powerful one
Exactly.
that can speak both our language
Yes.
and computer language.
That's exactly it. And it goes beyond what we've seen so far, like with ChatGPT. It uses, well, the developers call it ridiculous prompt chaining.
Ridiculous prompt chaining.
Yeah, that's what they're calling it.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
But give me an example. Like, what can it do?
So one of the demos that they highlight is a working Twitter clone
Okay.
built completely from English specifications.
Wait, a whole Twitter?
Yeah, tweets, profiles, the whole thing.
Just from writing down what you want it to do.
Pretty much, yeah. So obviously it's still early stages.
Yeah, for sure.
Not going to take on the real Twitter just yet.
Yeah.
But it highlights the potential.
Yeah.
And they've also used it to generate a really massive Java class, like a huge one, much larger than AI models can normally handle.
So they're going for both scale and complexity then.
Absolutely.
Okay, color me impressed. How does it even work?
So it's actually pretty straightforward to get started. You install it through NPM,
Okay.
which is pretty standard for developers. And then you configure this file. It's called english-compiler.json.
Okay, and this is where it gets serious.
Yeah.
You put in all the details.
You specify directories for your code,
Okay.
your test files, but the critical part is you need to include your OpenAI API key.
So this is where you need to be careful.
Yeah. Keep that one safe.
Definitely.
But yeah. And there's some pretty cool features like prompt caching.
Oh, what's that?
It can really speed up the process and even helps if you hit that OpenAI rate limit so you don't have to start from scratch.
Oh, that's smart.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you tell the compiler what you actually want to build?
So you create files with the extension .spec.md, which are basically markdown files,
Okay.
with your instructions written in plain English. Like you literally describe what you want and the compiler does the rest.
So I could theoretically build an app by writing down what I want step by step.
That's the goal, yeah. And for JavaScript projects, you can even include a test parameter,
Wow.
and it will generate test scripts alongside the code.
They thought about testing.
Yeah, pretty neat, right?
It's impressive. But let's be real for a second. Is this ready for the real world?
So that is the question everyone's asking. While it is groundbreaking,
Right.
it is still early stages. The developers themselves say it's slow. Building large projects takes time because it needs a lot of calls to the AI.
Okay, so patience is key. What else?
Well, as with any new tech, there's always the chance of bugs, in the generated code.
Yep.
And it relies on OpenAI's API, so any issues on their end could affect things.
Yeah, for sure. Those are all valid points,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, even things like GPU.js faced limitations at the start,
That's a good point.
and now it powers all sorts of things.
Exactly. I think despite these limitations, it gives us a look at what the future could be, where coding might be much easier and, well, more intuitive.
A future where anyone can build their ideas
Yeah.
without being a coding expert.
Exactly. That's the hope.
I like that a lot. How are they planning to deal with these limitations then?
So they are working on an AI model with a much bigger memory, like a contextual token memory,
Well,
which should address a lot of those constraints, especially with speed and complexity.
makes sense. But how are they doing that? Like, what are they actually using?
They're using some pretty serious stuff. The Salesforce CodeGen model,
Oh, wow.
the Pile dataset, even the Eleuther AI 20B model.
Those are big names.
They're pulling out all the stops. And they're also looking for funding to help them speed things up.
Of course. That makes sense.
Yeah, and they're focusing on testing first because that needs less memory,
Oh, okay.
and then moving on to the more general code generation later.
So it's a step-by-step process.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the bigger picture?
Yeah.
Like, what could this mean for businesses,
Oh,
for
absolutely.
education, even just, personal projects?
I mean, that's where things get really interesting. Imagine, right, you've got this small business owner, they have this amazing idea for an app,
Okay, yeah.
but they don't have the technical skills. They can't afford to hire a whole team of developers.
Yeah. Yeah.
With something like the English compiler, they could just describe their vision and boom, a working prototype.
Okay, that makes sense for small businesses.
Yeah.
But what about the bigger companies? Like, could this really work for them? I'm picturing, some massive financial trading platform.
I I mean, those are more complex scenarios for sure, but the idea still applies.
Because even in those huge companies, you start with documentation, specs.
Yeah.
So what if you could feed all that into an AI?
That could be really powerful.
Right. It could streamline that whole beginning stage.
So it's not about replacing those developers entirely.
No.
It's about giving them
Mm-hmm.
a really powerful new tool
Exactly.
and freeing them up to focus on the really tricky parts.
Mm-hmm. It's about augmenting what they can do.
I see. And what about education?
Oh, imagine students learning to code by just writing down what they want. They start with these plain English descriptions and then see how it becomes real code.
Yeah.
That could make it so much less intimidating, especially for students who aren't drawn to, the traditional programming languages.
Yeah, it would demystify the whole thing.
Absolutely. And that extends to personal projects too, right?
Huh.
Imagine someone who wants to build a custom app for their smart home
Oh, yeah.
or automate something they do. They just write it down.
So many possibilities. And think about how many times we've all struggled to explain what we want to a developer.
Oh, tell me about it.
This could change that entirely.
Wow. It really could.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, they are very open about the fact that it's not perfect.
Yeah.
There might be bugs.
Mm-hmm.
It can be slow.
Yeah.
And it relies on OpenAI.
Yeah, all very true. And it's important to be realistic about that. This isn't some magic solution.
Right.
But it does show us a potential future.
Yeah.
A future where coding is more accessible.
More accessible.
More intuitive, maybe even enjoyable.
It's like those early inventors, right? The ones who wanted to fly.
Yeah,
They knew there'd be problems.
absolutely.
But they kept going because they saw that potential.
And who knows, maybe this is our flying machine,
Yeah. A little shaky at first.
but with huge potential.
Exactly. I love that analogy.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy, but let's get practical for a minute. If someone listening wants to try this out, can they?
Oh, yeah,
All
absolutely.
right now.
It's all in GitHub, which means anyone can download it,
Cool.
play around with it,
Okay.
even contribute to the project.
So it's really open.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's important to remember it's not like a finished product or anything.
Right. It's still under development.
Exactly. So you might run into some, bugs.
Right.
And you'll need some technical know-how.
So it's more for the, curious types.
Yeah, for sure.
The ones who like to experiment a little.
Early adopters, yeah.
Exactly.
People who are excited about the potential
Yeah.
and want to be involved.
I like that. So check out the demos, the documentation.
Yeah,
Maybe even build something small.
exactly. You might hit some snags,
Yeah.
but it's a chance to see something revolutionary.
It's like being part of history in the making.
Yeah, kinda.
Okay, so we've talked about the good and the bad,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like this whole thing,
Yeah.
it's driven by this belief
Yeah.
that AI can change everything
Mm-hmm.
about how we build software.
Absolutely. The developers are clearly passionate about this. Like,
Yeah.
they're not afraid to challenge the status quo.
Right.
They're pushing the limits. It's
Cool.
not just about the compiler.
Yeah.
It's about rethinking the entire process.
It's a good reminder that real innovation, it comes from the people who are willing to question everything.
Mm-hmm. And what's really impressive is how humble they are about it. They know they don't have all the answers.
Right.
They're open about the challenges.
Yeah.
They even invite others to join in, contribute ideas.
The call to action then.
It is a call to believe in the power of technology.
I like that. But okay, let's bring it back down to earth for a second.
Sure.
For our listeners who are thinking, okay, this is cool, but what's in it for me?
Yeah.
How would this affect my work, my life? What would you say?
I'd say even at this early stage, it opens up all sorts of possibilities, like for everyone, businesses, organizations, whoever.
Okay.
Imagine a world where you just describe what you want.
Yeah.
A website, an app, anything, and it just becomes code. You don't need to know how to program.
Okay, let's break that down a bit. Like real world examples, starting with businesses. What about the big companies?
So imagine a corporation needs a new system, like to manage employee data.
Okay.
Instead of traditional coding, they use the English compiler to quickly try out different things,
Yeah.
experiment with features, get feedback early on.
So it's all about speed and efficiency.
Exactly.
And it's not just about new systems.
No, what about those old clunky systems?
Right. The ones that are expensive to maintain.
What if you could translate them into modern code?
I would save so much time and money.
Exactly.
Okay, what about different industries then?
Okay, so healthcare. Imagine using it to create personalized treatment plans.
Wow.
Doctors describe what they want, the AI builds the algorithms,
Yeah.
finance, building risk management models, or automating trading strategies.
Okay, so some really critical areas.
Yeah, for sure.
What about education and research then?
Education, oh, this is a big one. Students could create games, simulations,
Yeah,
just by writing down their ideas,
that's amazing.
making coding accessible to everyone,
Yeah.
and research. Imagine scientists being able to describe their experiments and have the AI generate the code they need
Oh, wow.
for instruments, data collection, analysis.
So it's freeing them up to focus on the bigger picture.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about companies, research,
Mm.
but what about just individuals?
Oh, that's what's so exciting about this.
Yeah.
It could democratize software development.
Yeah.
Anyone with a good idea can create something.
Yeah.
Imagine a musician building a custom app for composing.
Yeah.
Or a teacher creating an interactive tool.
Without needing to know how to code.
Exactly. It's about giving people the power
Yeah.
to bring their ideas to life.
It really is like giving people superpowers.
It is.
But are there any downsides? Like, if coding gets so easy,
Right.
could we end up with a bunch of bad software?
That's a valid concern.
Yeah.
It's something we definitely need to think about
Yeah.
as this technology develops.
Yeah.
But I truly believe the benefits outweigh the risks.
Okay.
When more people can create,
Yeah.
we get more innovation.
Right. More creativity.
And that benefits everyone.
And it's not like the English compiler does everything.
No, it's a tool
You still need people to
Right.
guide it,
to describe what they want,
to make decisions.
to test it.
It's not just a magic button
No, it's about collaboration.
between humans and AI.
Exactly. Each bringing their own strengths.
To create something amazing,
Hmm.
that's a really positive outlook. But as we look ahead,
Yeah.
what should we be paying attention to in this space?
So one of the most exciting things is the development of AI models with even bigger memories.
Okay.
Like we talked about earlier. As they get better,
Yeah.
the limitations of the English compiler will disappear.
So we could see some truly amazing things being built.
Exactly. And I think we'll also see specialized English compilers.
What does that mean?
So instead of one general tool,
Right.
there might be one for healthcare,
Right.
one for education,
Okay.
making them even more efficient and accurate.
It makes sense to have tools for specific jobs.
Right.
But what about the ethical side of all of this?
Oh, that's a big one.
AI is playing a bigger role in development.
Yeah.
How do we make sure it's used responsibly?
That's something we need to be talking about constantly.
Yeah.
We need to make sure the code is fair, unbiased, secure.
Right.
It's going to take developers, policymakers, ethicists,
Yeah.
all working together.
To make sure it's used for good.
Exactly.
Hmm.
It's a big task, but the potential benefits are huge.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we wrap up this section,
Mm-hmm.
what's the main thing you want our listeners to take away about the English compiler?
I'd say it's a fundamental shift in how we think about software creation.
Okay.
It's a challenge to imagine a future where anyone can code.
Yeah.
It's more intuitive, more human-centered.
I like that.
It doesn't matter if you're a developer, a business leader, or just curious. It's an invitation to rethink what's possible.
A really powerful message. It makes you wonder what the future holds.
It does.
We're just at the beginning of this.
Yeah. Who knows what we'll see in the coming years.
Yeah, with AI and software development.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it does feel like we're on the edge of something huge. This English compiler, it could be the start of a whole new chapter in software development.
And the best part is, you don't have to just watch. You can be a part of it.
So where should our listeners go if they want to learn more, maybe even give it a shot themselves?
The GitHub repository, that's the place to start. It's got everything. The code, the docs, the demos we've been talking about. They even have a FAQ section.
Great. We'll make sure to include that link in the show notes. But before we finish up, what's the one big idea you want our listeners to take away from all of this?
I think the key takeaway is that the English compiler, even though it's still in those early stages, it shows us a whole new way of thinking about software. It's a big experiment, pushing us to imagine a future where coding is easier, more natural, more human.
It's a future where anyone can create software, not just a few experts.
Exactly. And even if this particular project doesn't reach every single one of its goals, it's started a conversation. And that's important.
It's a conversation about the future of technology, about AI, about how human creativity can be amplified by these tools. And we're only just starting.
That's what makes it so exciting. Who knows what amazing innovations we'll see as we explore this whole new world of AI-assisted development.
It's a future full of possibilities, and we can't wait to see what happens next. So, to our listeners, keep an eye on the English compiler. It could be the beginning of something truly special. And keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep pushing those boundaries.
Because the future of technology is waiting to be written. And maybe, just maybe, it'll be written in plain English.
That's a fantastic note to end on. Until next time, keep diving deep.